Hello learners, welcome to this session. This session is on maintenance and updation of information systems. I am Professor V.V. Subramaniam, Director, School of Computer and Information Sciences, IGNOU, New Delhi. So, in our earlier session, we had seen tools and technologies, that too from the perspective of past as well as future. So in this particular video session, we will be concentrating on the maintenance and updation of information systems. Functionality, flexibility, availability, correctness and performance are some of the important characteristics of good software. The aim of software maintenance is to guarantee these characteristics over the whole software life cycle. Changes of software are often necessary in order to eliminate errors, extend the functionality of the software, or adapt the software to a changed environment. Challenges in software maintenance. So there are several challenges we can speak about. One of the biggest challenge in software maintenance is change, or you can say it, correction of one part of software without changing other parts of the software. So this is a very dangerous challenge which should be addressed. In many companies, different departments are responsible for the development and maintenance of software. Considerable part of the knowledge about the software is not transmitted from development department to the maintenance department. So in many cases, the responsible programmer has already left the company together with his or her information about the program structure. So there is a lot of gap between the people who had left the company and who had joined and took over the maintenance part. Software maintenance has to deal with the problems made in the pre-release time and has to straighten out the errors made. What is a software maintenance? Simplified, software maintenance can be understood as any work that is undertaken about delivery of a software system. As per the definition given by IEEE, software maintenance is the process of modifying a software system or component after delivery to correct faults, improve performances or other attributes, or adapt to a changed environment. Some people may disagree with this definition because they see software maintenance as an accompanying process during the whole software life cycle instead of an after release process. They argue that the development process must consider future maintenance tasks. Therefore, software developers must generate initiative code, a documentation which is easy to understand, and automated tests which can be used in order to ensure the basic functionality after changes of the software. The development department is responsible for providing a complete software which comprises the program, that is the source code and the object code, the documentation. It consists of analysis documents, example formal specifications, design documents, UML diagrams, testing data, etc. And the operating procedures, the installation handbook, user handbook, the manuals pertaining to the systems, etc. In practice, certain parts are often missing. So these particular things, whatever we had talked about, the whole documentation kind of thing, are not being prepared in some context or else partially prepared in the other context, and those documents are also not being transferred from the development to the maintenance division. As a consequence, the maintenance department had to deal with incomplete information. We can talk about several classifications here. Mainly, we can concentrate on 4 maintenance categories. The software maintenance can be categorized into 4 subtasks. One is the corrective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance, preventive maintenance. So each and every maintenance is having its own role to play. Let us talk about the corrective maintenance. This task comprises the correction of faults which can be classified as design errors, logic errors, or coding errors. So this is the main aspect on which the corrective maintenance focuses upon. It means repairing processing or performance failures or making changes because of previously uncorrected problems or false assumptions. The next is the adaptive maintenance. This task comprises adaptation of the software to a new changed environment. For example, adaptation due to changes by law or a new platform, that is hardware, operating system or others. Next thing is perfective maintenance. Perfective maintenance task is responsible for changes because of the new user requests. This task comprises removing or extending and modifying of functionality and the improvement of the performance. The last task is the preventive maintenance. These are all improvements of the software in order to ease the future maintenance. This is a kind of preventive mechanism. So you can see in the diagram the categorization of maintenance, the corrective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance and preventive maintenance. All the four maintenance tasks are being illustrated in the categorization of maintenance diagram. You can please go through this and then you can see the distribution of the effort in software maintenance. Which task is occupying the more part? So most of the effort in software maintenance is spent in perfective maintenance. You can see here it is from one of the research papers where 55% is spent in perfective maintenance while 25% are spent for adaptive maintenance and 20% are spent on corrective maintenance. So here you can understand that perfective maintenance is occupying the larger component in the pie chart, that is about 55%. So here the whole distribution of the effort that needs to be taken care at the three different types of tasks is illustrated over here. So we will talk about the high costs of the maintenance systems. So what are the reasons why these high costs are incurred when we talk about the maintenance part? One reason may be insufficient knowledge of the user domain, maybe insufficient or obsolete documentation that is available with you, or the complexity of the programs may be one reason. Programmer is not maintenance personal because programmer is having his own task to do and he may not be like thinking from the perspective of the maintenance personnel. So a programmer cannot be equated to a maintenance personnel because both of them may share tasks, otherwise the programmer has his own programming to do or coding part to do and he may not think more about the maintenance personnel. Employee responsible for the code left the company, with him or her the corresponding knowledge also goes. So the complete documentation was not being done, partial documentation was done, that too there is no proper transfer from that person to the newly joined person in the maintenance department. Usage of undocumented assumption introduces the errors. So whenever you don't have the documentation available with the maintenance department, then there may be a chance of assumption of each and everything. So knowledge about management, business rules and processes, operational and functional information are often only implicitly available, that too in the form of the program code. So there are a lot of influential factors we can talk about when we talk about the maintenance part. The influences may be from the external or the influences may be from the internal. The external part we can call them as the external influence factors and the internal are called as the internal influence factors. So let us see the external influence factors. Under this, one external influence factor may be user environment. The user requirements involve requests for additional functionality and error correction, as well as requests for non-programming related support. Other factor may be operational environment. The chances here can be the exchange of the hardware platform or of the software system. For example, a new operating system or a different database management system is being induced into the new operational environment. Then the third may be organizational environment. The changes in the organizational environment comprises changes in policies, example, changes in business rules or taxation policies, or changes which enable to stay competitive. And when we talk about the internal influence factors, first one may be the maintenance process. The maintenance process itself is the most important part in the software maintenance framework. It covers the tasks like capturing change requirements, that is, the process of finding out what changes are required, or else variation in programming practice, that means the differences in the approaches used for writing and maintaining programs, basic guidelines to avoid variations in the code. And the third is the paradigm shift. It is alteration of the way a software is developed and maintained. There are still many systems in use developed in low-level programming languages. So there may be a paradigm shift which is required. So that will come under the internal influence factors. And then error detection and correction. That will be the fourth one under the internal influence factor. So in the internal influence factor, other than the maintenance process, software to maintain is the second one. The main aspects of the software itself are the difficulty of the application domain, the quality of the documentation, that is absolute or else no documentation at all, and the structure of the program. The third one we can talk about the internal influence factor is the maintenance personnel. The high staff turnover is a big problem in the field of software maintenance. Most software systems are maintained by people who are not the original authors of the program. The maintenance personnel often lacks expertise in the domain. Programmers can introduce errors in other parts of the software by changing one part of the software. So that particular process is called as the ripple effect. Good employees for software maintenance have the following abilities, like they have the knowledge about the programming languages, they have the abstraction or else compression of information and analytical abilities, and impact of analysis abilities. So we were talking about the influence factors, the two internal influence factors and the external influence factors. Do we have any potential solutions? Yes, of course. There are certain potential solutions for the maintenance problems, as you can see. First one is the investigate more budget, or else invest in more budget. Invest in more budget is into the development of new systems in order to decrease the maintenance costs and to increase the quality of the product. The use of more advanced requirement specification approaches, design techniques and tools, as well as quality assurance procedures and standards that should help the new system becomes more maintainable. The second thing is the possible solution may be replace the existing system with a new system. Problems result from a fact that errors can always occur in the new system. You have to take the maintenance cost of the new system into consideration. In addition, you have to consider that maintenance causes small cost over the total period of time, that you have to remember. Whereas a new development causes a big amount in small period of time. Furthermore, there is much information only implicitly available in the source code. Often, the requirements are only indirectly available in the old system. It makes sense to redevelop a system if the program is unmaintainable. The costs for maintenance are higher than the cost of a new system, or if there are profoundly changes in the process, structure, or general requirements. The third one is improve the existing system with preventive maintenance. So another thing here we can talk about the system audit. It is an investigation to review the performance of an operational system. The objectives of conducting a system audit are to compare actual and planned performance. What was the actual things that we had aimed for? What is the ultimate planned performance that we are getting it right now? Are they balanced, or there are much differences between the actual and the final thing that we had received? To verify that the stated objectives of the system are still valid in current environment. Suppose if a system is 5 years old and then meanwhile there are several changes or modifications added to the new things added to the system, so that we have to once again sometimes verify what all the objectives that were stated earlier, are they valid till now or not? To evaluate the achievement of stated objectives, to ensure the reliability of computer-based financial and other information, to ensure all records included while processing, and also to ensure protection from frauds. So this is a kind of audit process. Auditing, sometimes in companies we follow a formal audit for the manual things that is happening. Here we are talking about the systems audit. So suppose if a software is running in your company and various departments are connected, like the HR department, finance, sales, production, manufacturing, everything are being connected in that particular through that particular system. So once in a while we have to check the balances and check the systems whether they are meeting the objectives till now, what all the changes those are required, or whatever the objectives that are specified, is it running as per the objectives, or else are there any frauds happening, or else are there any leakages of the information, and what kind of security was given earlier, are they valid, is there any privileges, hike of the privileges that needs to be taken care because of the change in the designations of the employees. So there are several things that needs to be looked into. So the next aspect that we can cover is the security aspect. So in a company, each and every person may not have the same kind of privileges in order to access the system. So you can see a data entry operator, if you take the case of a data entry operator, he has only limited privileges to enter the data. Suppose if intentionally or unintentionally an error has been inputted by him or her, so there may not be a scope of rectifying the error by the data entry operator. However, there will be a kind of reporting procedure to the DBA or some person who is responsible to take care of the changes that needs to be reflected. So he will report to the responsible person who is looking after the databases, and with the help of that person, wherever the change needs to be done, that will be reflected. So you can see the data entry operator may be working with the same kind of interface that the other person has. However, when he logged with the credentials that he has with him, many of the options you can see those are disabled for him. Only the data entry options may be enabled for him, so that he can enter the data entry job only. Suppose if you take the case of the middle-sized employee, then he has his own privileges, that too depending upon the functions that he has to carry. So he will be having the rights of access more than the data entry operator. However, he will be having the he will be having the rights as per the need of his job. Like suppose if you take the case of the next to next, likewise top authorities, they will be having more focus on the overall system to take several decisions on behalf of the information that is there in the systems. So they will have the privileges at the higher level, and then they can have the access of the databases also more than that you expect from a class B employee or data entry operator. So in the organization, suppose if the designations are changed in the organizations, if somebody is being promoted to the next level, once again the database administrator, depending upon the level that he is being transferred to, the position that he is currently occupying, he will change the privileges accordingly, so that he will get the privileges whatever the job demands for. Likewise, the database administrator also has the responsibility to tune the databases of the information system. Like once in a while, he will have to check the whole systems, like the functioning, performance, and he will evaluate the databases, like whether they are functioning properly or not, whether there is any kind of SQL injections or any kind of things happening. There will a complete eye will be on the database management system, and he will be looking out after, or else he will be fine tuning the database management systems. Then coming to the evaluation of the system, it is performed to identify its strengths and weaknesses. So even whenever we talk about the student, he will also undergo evaluation pattern, evaluation mechanism. He has to write certain tests. He has to do certain check your progress of kind of thing in order to perform the continuous evaluation kind of thing. Likewise, once in a while, the evaluation of the system also should take place in order to see, identify, consider the strengths and weaknesses of the system. Wherever certain weaknesses are there, you have to plug in that particular weaknesses with the help of some patches or some sort of code, etc. So evaluation can be done along with the following dimensions. One dimension may be operational evaluation, organizational impact, user manager assessment, and development performance. When we talk about the operational evaluation, the system functions including case of use, response time, overall reliability, and level of utilization will be accessed in the operational evaluation. You can see here the main focus is on the functionality part, that too case of use, each and every option that you had on the system, whether it is using it properly or not, whether it is functioning properly or not, what is the response time, and overall reliability of the system, and levels of utilization. These are the things that are assessed during the operational evaluation. That means that it is having an operational focus of evaluation, operational aspects focus of the evaluation. And then organizational impact. Here you can see the identification and measurement of benefits to the organization in such areas of financial concerns, operational efficiency, and competitive impact. So this is a kind of overall functioning of the system with respect to the organizational needs. Whatever the objectives that were kept in order to design, develop the system, whether they are full-fledgedly operating or functioning or not. So what kind of benefits the organization is reaping? Whether the system is performing like at least 90 to 95% efficiently or not. What are the financial concerns? Like what kind of expenditure is incurring during every year on the part of hardware, on the part of software, on the part of antivirus software, whatever the case may be. So what are the financial like concerns that one needs to take in order to run the system very efficiently, that too in every year. So those kinds of things also has to take care. Like coming to the infrastructure part, the hardware part. So how this particular hardware will be, one has to change the complete hardware infrastructure. How many years it will be staying intact, and what kind of hardware needs the change after every 5 years or every decade. That needs to be taken care. Like the operational efficiency also needs to be taken care. And the edge that we are getting, the benefit that we are getting by using the system also will be assessed in the organizational impact. And the third one, we can call it as the user manager assessment. So evaluation of the attitudes of managers and users within the organization. So whether they are satisfied with the systems or not, some of the things whether they are doing it manually because the system is not supporting some sort of mechanisms because of the policy. It may be due to the policy change, it may be due to the functionality change, it may be due to the taxation policies, etc. So sometimes some people, they have to do the things manually, feeding to the systems. So whether that particular thing is happening, what is the attitude of the managers and users towards the like software system that they are experiencing with. So that particular assessment need to be coming under the user manager assessment. And the last one is the development performance. So evaluation of the development process in accordance with such yardsticks as overall development time and effort, conformance to budgets and standards and other project management criteria. So this particular development performance, it is talking about the yardsticks, that is overall development time and efforts that has been put into, whether it is conformance with the budgets or else is there any escalation of the budget. Suppose it was started by anticipating with the 2 crores and it is crossing 2.5 crores. So what kind of edge we are getting by raising the budget and other things. And also we have to see what kind of standards it is meeting, whether they are international standards, whether they are international benchmarks that is being met, and other project management criteria. So here in this particular session, we had seen like the complete aspects of the maintenance, aspects of the audit, and aspects of the updating process. So hope you had understood this particular topic, and in the next session, let us concentrate on a new video with management information systems. With this, I'll conclude the session. Happy learning.